Where is the Garden of Eden today? The Bible gives clues. They say every mystery begins with a question that refuses to die. Ours begins with the simplest yet most haunting question in biblical history. Where is Eden? The place where humanity opened its eyes for the first time, where rivers flowed like living arteries, where God Himself walked among trees heavy with life, where innocence was not a memory but a reality, a garden so beautiful. The world has searched for it ever since. Some believe Eden was symbolic, others say it was swallowed by time. But the Bible, strangely enough, gives clues precise enough to draw maps, follow ancient riverbeds, and stand on ground that might once have felt the footsteps of the first humans. This is not a fairy tale. This is an investigation. And today, we follow the clues. Every mystery has a key. For Eden, that key is hidden in Genesis 2. Not metaphors, not poetry, but directions, geographical directions. Genesis describes Eden as the source of 4 rivers: Pishon, Gihon, Hiddekel the Tigris, Perath the Euphrates. 2 of these rivers still exist today, flowing through modern Iraq. But the first 2, gone, vanished like ink washed from parchment, or so it seems. Ancient historians wrote of rivers that once flowed but no longer exist. Archaeologists speak of riverbeds beneath deserts. Geologists point to dried channels thousands of years old. And so our investigation begins. If Eden once fed all 4, Eden must have existed somewhere at their convergence before the earth changed. But how did it change? Violently, catastrophically, like a world remade. And so, the mystery deepens. To locate Eden, we must enter dangerous territory, the world before the flood. A world with a different climate, different geography, possibly even different continental shapes. The ancient rabbis claimed the flood reshaped the face of the earth. The book of Job describes land overturned as by fire. Modern scientists confirm what Scripture implied. Massive global upheaval once altered river paths, raised mountains, and submerged entire landscapes beneath water and sediment. So here is the investigative challenge. We cannot look for Eden on today's world map. We must reconstruct yesterday's. This turns Eden into a cold case, one buried beneath layers of earth, thousands of years thick. But the Bible gives one more clue. A clue so overlooked it almost feels hidden on purpose. Genesis says, God planted a garden in Eden in the east. Genesis 2:8. East of what? East of the place where the writer lived. Genesis was written in the Middle East, so Eden was eastward. But how far? Some ancient traditions say Eden was far east beyond Mesopotamia. Others say east simply meant towards sunrise, an ancient way of marking orientation. But something else stands out. Eden was not just a garden, the text says. A river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divided. This means Eden was not the garden. Eden was a region. The garden was a specific location within it. So we are not searching for a garden. We are searching for a region large enough to produce 4 rivers. This expands the map enormously and intensifies the mystery. If we can find one vanished river, the puzzle begins to solve itself. Enter the Pishon. Genesis says it flowed around the land of Havilah, a place known for gold and precious stones. For centuries, theologians shrugged. Havilah seemed untraceable. But then satellites changed everything. In the 1990s, scientists discovered an immense dry riverbed beneath the sands of Saudi Arabia, a river that once flowed for hundreds of miles, long enough and wide enough to have been one of the great rivers of the ancient world. Its name today, the Kuwait River, a river that no longer exists but once emptied into the Persian Gulf. The match is striking. Havilah was described as a land rich in gold. Saudi Arabia's ancient mines fit the description perfectly. If this dry river is the Pishon, and many experts believe it is, then Eden's region was somewhere north of its ancient headwaters. That places Eden within range of Mesopotamia. But we are not done. Another river waits in the shadows. The second missing river, Gihon, is described as circling the land of Cush. Traditionally, Cush refers to Ethiopia, but the Hebrew word can also refer to regions around Persia and ancient Kassite territories. And curiously, there exists a second dried river system linking the Persian Gulf to areas once associated with Cush. Two vanished rivers, two still flowing, four originating from one region. The map begins tightening like a noose around a single geographical zone. Southern Mesopotamia, modern Iraq, Kuwait, and parts of Iran. But now we face the biggest obstacle yet. Mesopotamia is flat. Eden, however, was described as a source in elevated region, which leads us to the next clue. Eden's river system flowed outward, dividing into branches downstream. This implies something Eden must have had: elevation, a highland, a source region. Ancient Jewish texts place Eden near a mountain of holiness. Early Christian writings echo the idea. So we look north, into a land where mountains dominate the horizon, a land where two modern rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates, begin their journey, a land scarred by ancient volcanic activity, underground springs and river origins, a land where four rivers could once have emerged before tectonic shifts fractured the region. This land is southeastern Turkey, not the Turkey of beaches and resorts, but the Turkey of ancient plains, folded mountains, and forgotten ruins. And at the heart of it lies something remarkable, a place so old, it rewrites everything. In the 1990s, archaeologists uncovered a site older than Stonehenge, older than the pyramids, older than any known city on Earth. Göbekli Tepe, a mountain sanctuary, T-shaped stone pillars towering in circles, carvings of animals, constellations, and symbols no one fully understands. And it sits precisely where a convergence of ancient rivers could have existed. Some scholars propose Göbekli Tepe may mark either the region of Eden or the memory of Eden passed down over millennia. Was it a temple, a memorial, a reconstruction of something long lost? Researchers do not agree, but the location is uncanny. If the world before the flood looked different, and all evidence suggests it did, this region could easily have once been part of a fertile, elevated land where multiple rivers originated. And yet, our investigation must avoid dazzling distractions. Göbekli Tepe may be a clue, but Eden must match all biblical clues. So we keep following the trail. When Adam and Eve were removed from the garden, Genesis says God placed a cherubim east of it, meaning they were driven westward away from Eden, not toward it. When Cain was banished, Scripture says he went east, into the land of Nod. This suggests Eden lay somewhere west of early civilization that we know existed in Sumer, Akkad, and Assyria, which aligns yet again with eastern Turkey or northern Mesopotamia. The patterns repeat. The map tightens, and one region keeps rising to the surface. Genesis describes something unusual about the pre-flood world. A mist came up from the earth and watered the whole ground. Fountains of the great deep broke open. This implies subterranean springs, underground aquifers, volcanic or tectonic activity, pressurized water systems. Eastern Turkey is filled with these massive underground water channels, hot springs, fault lines, subterranean rivers that feed the Tigris and Euphrates. If Eden had underground water sources feeding its rivers, this region fits the profile more than any other on Earth. But there is one more clue the Bible gives, and it is the most shocking. After humanity was expelled from the garden, the text says God placed a flaming sword that turned every direction to guard the way to the tree of life, a symbolic barrier, perhaps. But ancient Jewish writings describe the event differently. They say Eden was sealed off not just spiritually, but geographically. Many ancient commentators believed Eden was literally removed from human access, blocked, hidden, shielded, or destroyed by the flood. Early church fathers taught Eden was either lifted, submerged, or buried. If that is true, then the garden is not merely lost. It is unreachable, not because we cannot find it, but because God will not allow us to, which leads to a final, powerful hypothesis, one that investigators and theologians rarely discuss. What if the Garden of Eden exists, but not in our world anymore? Not in this dimension, not in this age. Think about it. Eden was the one place where heaven and earth touched, where God walked physically, where the spiritual and physical overlapped. When humanity fell, that overlap ended. Eden was sealed, the doorway closed, not destroyed, but removed. This could explain why no archaeological site matches it. No river systems perfectly align. No landscape fits every detail. It would also explain why Revelation speaks of the tree of life, the very tree from Eden still existing today, in the paradise of God. Meaning Eden still exists, just not here. Not in this corrupted world, not until the end of the age. After all clues, all data, all geography, 3 candidate regions remain. Eastern Turkey headwaters theory. Prozan source of the Tigris and Euphrates, mountains for elevation. Ancient pre-flood-like springs. Göbekli Tepe proximity, southern Mesopotamia convergence theory. Prozan matches ancient dried rivers. Near Havilah and Kush clues. Fits ancient Sumerian traditions. A removed Eden spiritual physical theory. Prozan aligns with biblical separation after the fall. Explains absence of archaeological evidence, consistent with Revelation. And so we come to the end of the investigation, or perhaps the beginning. So where is Eden today? Is it buried beneath Turkish mountains, hidden under Mesopotamian sands, or sealed away beyond human reach? The Bible gives clues, but not access. Directions, but no destination. Coordinates without the final key. And maybe that is the point. Eden was never meant to be a tourist site. It was the birthplace of humanity's relationship with God, a relationship broken and one day restored. Revelation says the tree of life will return. Paradise will reopen. What was lost in Genesis will reappear at the end of the story. The Garden of Eden is not gone. It is simply waiting, out of sight, out of reach, until the world is ready